No idea what we were just saying. Maybe I should just go ahead and.
Next question.
Were your equity cards offered to you, or did you do the EMC program?
We didn't have to because we both did.
I did both.
You did both? Okay. I did TheaterWorks USA, which is what he did. It's a children's tour. I was lucky enough to get to do Seussical, which is, a real musical.
Let me tell you, the EMC program, I don't know if all of you are familiar with this. Actors Equity, I don't know, you may not know what Actors Equity is, but it's this union that gives us health insurance and makes sure, we don't rehearse too long. And, it's fair practices. And people were really getting screwed back in the 20s. And so, they formed a union and actors said, we aren't going to do the show unless you treat us right. So that's where that came from. So the equity membership candidacy program came about because people were like, well, I can't get my equity card unless the director goes, you're in, welcome to the club, And so if you work at these equity theaters, like a Heritage Repertory Theater in Charlottesville, Virginia, I work at a couple, and you get a point a week, and you have to get 40 or 50 points to become an equity member. And I got 20 or 30 or 25 points or something, but then I was offered my card. And it's sort of like one of those things, you're earning points, and while you're earning that, you're becoming equity. And by working in those theaters, you're going to meet contacts and you're going to audition for other places. And somebody's probably going to offer you your card, like TheaterWorks. And it's really funny, and I feel like I've sort of influenced Taylor and my girlfriend with TheaterWorks, because TheaterWorks is this amazing thing. And I wouldn't say rush to New York and get your equity card the minute you get there and do a TheaterWorks tour. But if you get to the point where you're like, you know what, I have some non-equity things on my resume, maybe you've done a non-equity tour or something, and I want to become equity. TheaterWorks is this great organization that it's really great, good quality children's theater that literally tours the country in a couple vans. I mean, it's not a bus and truck. It doesn't. Sometimes they play the Fox, but it's a little show with anywhere from 6 to 15 people, and they will put up the set, and the actors put up the set with the stage manager, and you go from town to town. And it's not glamorous, but you literally earn your equity card.
It's totally worth it.
You earned it. But I mean, if me and Taylor and my girlfriend aren't enough, I mean, Richard Kind from Spin City, Victoria Clark, Tony winner, Roger Bart, Tony winner, the list, Daphne Rubin Vega, the original cast of Rent, all these people, you go in Chelsea Studios, I think they've taken these pictures down, but it's all the original cast of these shows, and you're like, that's Daphne Rubin Vega and Lyle the Crocodile, I did a show called The Great American Railroad Race about,
Who can build a railroad?
3 strokes to the spike, 10 spikes to the rail, 34 rails to the mile, and 34 more to go.
It was like really like ridiculous, and I was like the racist white guy boss, and there was the ex-slave and the Irish guy and 2 Chinese guys working on the Transcontinental Railroad, and it really taught the kids. It was brilliant because it taught the kids about this history.
I went and saw it. I went to watch.
Taylor did in South Carolina, right?
We let bootleg it. Don't do that. So.
You did. I bootleg my girlfriend all the time.
Yeah. The other good thing about the EMC is that if you're at an equity audition, they always have a non-equity sign-up list that they rarely get to, but there's a lot of equity people. They're like, sorry, non-equity, you're not seeing. But if you're EMC, you get to be in front of non-equity, which is good because you'll get seen before the 20 people on the next pages. So that's also good about having membership points.
Here's the reality about those membership points. So it's great to be that because you can be ahead of the non-equity. You're still non-equity, but you can get on that list and get into auditions first. But going into these auditions, there's so many people there. It's sort of overwhelming. And I've talked to casting directors, and like Jane Beth Margolis, who used to cast Phantom, Cats, and Sunset, and all this stuff. I'd asked her, how many people do you actually cast from these EPAs? What's the percentage? And she didn't want to answer the question, I was like, come on, I want a percentage, like 30%. And she said, oh, it's not that high. And I was like, well, how many? She said, well, probably we cast about 3% of our casting from EPAs. And so that's how good you have to be, because with 100 people walking that door, 3 of them are going to get hey, you know what? Let's put them in the file and call them in next time, Because a lot of these, I don't know if you know, but a lot of these Broadway shows, they have required chorus calls every 6 months. And so they have required calls. So a lot of times it's somebody mine or Taylor's age sitting at a table, and like you're auditioning for Legally Blonde and you're waiting for Jerry Mitchell or somebody, the director, the book, somebody to be there, and it's like, literally, I went into an EPA for Legally Blonde once, and this girl is like this. I walk in the door and she's like this. And like, you know, it's nice to say hello, hi, how are you, good, you know, even if it's, you know, just bull, you know, but I mean, you need to go in a room and say, hi, how are you, great, you know, talk to the accompanist. And she was just sitting here doing this. And so I went and gave my music to the accompanist. She's still there at the table doing this because she's not, it's a pointless audition. It was that day, it really was. And she was doing that, and so I gave my song and I said thank you. And he looked at me and I just did this. And I just stood and waited. And I waited about, you know, 25 seconds, which was a long time in the room. I mean, if you wait
A second is a very long time.
Wait, let's wait 3 seconds right now. I mean, that's 3 seconds. I waited 25 seconds. And then she finally looked up and was like, you can go ahead. And it's like, and I would say, you can check your phone, you know. It's just like unbelievable, but that's how this, I mean, that's the reality of it. It's like, so the other question is, how do you get an agent? And that's,
yeah, that, I was going to address what Kathy said. That's my big dilemma right now because I'll go to all the EPA's equity principal auditions and the equity course calls because since I just went equity, at this point I want to all the casting directors to know who I am or to learn who I am and to say, you know, I've gotten a lot of wow, you know, Taylor, you're great. And I've had great callbacks for Phantom, Chicago.
tell me your fan of your high C thing. And the guy went, have I seen?
Yeah, he said I have that I can sing a high C on my resume. And he said, you know, the monitor is like, okay, this is who's in the room and blah, blah, blah. They're going to warm you up when you're done. So, you know, they're going to warm you up. They've done it to everybody. And I went in and I sang, I can't remember if I sang the end of Martin Gare. I sang something, but I just skyrocketed it at the end. And it was really, it's great when you can get a great reaction when the accompanist and the casting directors kind of start laughing. And they're like, well, I guess we don't need to warm him up. And they're like, nope, he showed us what we need to. But, you know, and then they ask you, have I ever seen you before? What, you know, what have you been doing? And I'll tell them I just got my equity card and everything. And, you know, I've gotten really good callbacks. The Greece tour that's about to go out, I got to sing for Kathleen Marshall, who's the director, who's on the TV show and everything. She was great. It just so happens that, I don't know if a lot of you who don't know me, I fluctuate weight. You know, I've fluctuated weight in the past a lot. And it's funny because I sing really high and Roger in Greece is supposed to be the, you know, the fat guy who everybody makes fun of. And I went in and I sang the mess out of it, but she was like, God, you sounded great. She was like,
Wish you were fatter.
wish you were fat. And I was like, yep. I was like, thanks, Kathleen. I'll see you later. But, you know, but so my dilemma with the 3% EPA casting is that they've seen all these people before they have these chorus calls, especially for new shows too. And so I'm trying to get an agent desperately, but when I write a letter or whatever, agents are like, oh, well, okay, that's great. I want to come see you in something. And I'm like, well, I kind of need you or I'm not going to be in something. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
That's the story Carol Burnett says.
Yeah.
She had to create a show for herself because all the agents were saying, well, let me know when you're in something. She's like, well, I can't get in something and if you don't help me get in something. And I love that story of hers, and it's so true. And so, you know, she created the showcase for herself. And of course, she was Carol Burnett, so that made it a little easier.
Yeah.
But,
So right now is talking about agent. I'm trying desperately to get one.
But the best way to get an agent is I have a manager who's 5% different. Agent gets 10% of your paycheck. A manager gets 15%. But a manager does more than just like an agent would do just legit theater, literally stage theater. I keep talking to you. I'm sorry. You're right in front of me. You're wearing pink. I don't know. You're wearing pink.
That's great. Jared, you got a gig doing a voiceover for horoscopes or something?